And then what happens after you've established a grid? What's the next logical thing that will happen? We're talking about 17 seconds without going off on a goose chase and 17 seconds without going off on a goose chase. We're talking about 17, 17, 17, 17, 17 until you've got 68 seconds of not getting off on any tangents. That's enough to create a substantial enough vibrational, emotional grid that now thoughts that blend and mesh will begin flowing into your mind. And the first thoughts that will come are thoughts like, there's nothing for me to worry about. The first thoughts will come like, I'm right on track. Everything's unfolding nicely. I'm glad to know what I know. This is not going to be difficult. There must be a lot of non-physical energies that are helping me. There's a wonderful world out there. I'm looking forward to figuring this out. I'm glad I don't have to figure it out all at once. They will be more tangible, more specific thoughts that will flow to you, but they will dovetail and blend, mesh, merge perfectly with the grid that you've already established. And then another stream of thoughts, and then another stream, and then it will reach further into your environment where you will begin to notice that the phone calls are less. You will begin to notice that people are figuring things out without you. You will begin to notice that the universe is managing this much better than you could consciously do. Some years ago, when Esther was at her most overwhelmed state, we taught her the placemat process. We've talked about it through the years. And the placemat process, we're going to dovetail it now with this grid process because they are essentially the same thing. We encouraged Esther to take a placemat because she was at a restaurant that had a paper placemat. So we said, draw a line down the center of the placemat. And on the left side, write, things I will do today. And by that, we mean things that you pretty much got to do today in order to fulfill your obligations. And on the other side, write things that you would like the universe to do. And only put the things that you must tend to on your side. Well, what we were actually doing with Esther was teaching her to trust and release large quantities of activities that she felt like she needed to do, to leave it to the universe. It was the precursor to this grid conversation. Because the grid conversation says, you take the time, and it only takes a little time, to create an emotional grid. The universe will find the partners and friends and cooperative components to fill it in. And your work effort, the amount of time and energy and action that will be required of you, will be cut in half on the first day, and in half again on the second day, and in half again on the third day, until people will be looking at you and saying, what are you spending your time doing? And you'll just say to yourself under your breath as you walk away, because you know they won't get it, grid work. I'm doing grid work. Grid work. It's establishing yourself in the center of who you are and allowing all of the consciousness that has the ability to assist you. So when you get an idea about a property, it will be a good one. Jerry said to Esther the other day, she was writing with him, because she was talking about all of the things that she needed to do, and she wanted him to help her figure out where she should put her attention first. What are the things that matter the most? And in her overwhelmment, she wasn't even hearing his suggestions very well. So he just talked to her in very general terms, really general terms. Talked to her about love, talked to her about feelings of well-being, just really general terms until she sort of settled down into the energy of that. And then he said something that made her laugh right out loud, and it made more sense than anything that she'd ever thought about relative to having too much to do. He said, remember the plate spinning act? He used to talk about the plate spinning act a lot and the difficulty of keeping the plates spinning. And he said to Esther, some of the plates are spinning significantly and they are stable. Some of the plates are wobbly. Let the wobbly ones fall. Let the wobbly ones fall. Because in your attention to the plates that are wobbly, you're getting wobbly. You see, where when you focus upon what doesn't need your attention and you let what doesn't need your attention then be the basis that you establish for the next and the next and the next and the next, soon you discover how many partners and friends and cooperative components you have to assist you in all of this. And your satisfaction comes from knowing that you did the work. And as our friend said, it's such a glorious feeling of birthing the thought. And we're wanting to soften that by letting you know you didn't birth it when you let it appear in your grid, you birthed it a long time ago. You recognized the thought that had been birthed. And that recognition is just going to keep coming and coming. It's going to come in the form of ease. It's going to come in the form of lightheartedness. It's going to come in the form of funny people coming into your experience. It's going to come in the form of ideas popping into your mind at perfect times. And it's going to come in the form of ideas relative to the property acquisition and releasing and managing that you're all a part of. It's going to come in regards to all of those things. But as it comes, as each piece of it comes, once you've done this basic grid work, you're going to feel satisfied as it comes, and you're going to feel an integral part of it. Long before we were talking about the vortex, long before we were talking about the grid, long before we were talking about things moving downstream, really in the early stages when we were talking about you create your own reality, we were explaining to Esther, as you are focused in your now, and you care about how you feel, that as you find that feeling place, everything will fill in around that. It really is finding the feeling place. And then we said, the only creation that is really satisfying is deliberate creation. And now we're saying to you, as an extension of that, what deliberate creation is control of your own grid, which means conjuring of your own emotions and maintaining it long enough that the universe begins filling it in. And this is the piece that we so want you to get. Filling it in with recognizable things. Recognizable things because you will recognize the vibrational essence of them. And you will know the part that you played in them. And there is nothing more rewarding than to meet someone and hear them say something and know that they came because of the work that you did, you see. It's delicious creating.
Beautiful.
Thank you.